So a couple years ago now, I actually installed the Cruise and Comfort air conditioner into this van build here. At the time, I said that it was the best air conditioner available for van life. So the Cruise and Comfort air conditioners are little 12 volt or 24 volt air conditioners that connect directly to your battery bank and run directly off DC power. So they're super efficient, and they're actually undermount air conditioners. So all the stuff gets mounted underneath the van instead of on top, freeing up your roof for more solar, as well as not having like a clunky looking air conditioner up there. At the time, I said that it was the best air conditioner available for van life, and I actually still think that that is true. I've talked to the owner a bunch of times, Chris, and he just knows exactly what he's doing. But it turns out, now that I've used this thing for a couple of years, that air conditioners in your camper van that run off your battery bank don't quite work exactly as you might think or hope that they would. So it turns out that physics don't really allow for a high efficiency air conditioner that only pulls about 50 or 60 amps to keep a tin can like this on a hot day really cool. Put it into perspective, the front factory air conditioner on these Sprinter vans is at about 25,000 BTUs, and the Cruise and Comfort air conditioner that I have runs at about 10,000 BTUs. And even when you're running down the highway at like full speed, the front factory AC does not keep the entire van super cool. It will keep like the front two seats nice and cool, but definitely not the whole camper van. So the Cruise and Comfort AC at only 10,000 BTUs definitely does not keep the entire van at like a crisp 69 degrees on a really hot day. It will take the temperature down a few degrees, and in particular, it keeps you really cool when it's like pointed directly at you or pointed directly at the area that you're sitting in. And that is exactly where today's video comes into play. We are going to be upgrading our Cruise and Comfort air conditioner to use an extendo vent. And the extendo vent allows you to basically pull it out of the wall and then point it directly to the area that you're sitting or sleeping. I'll put a link to the extendo vent in the video description below. I think this is going to be a pretty simple install. Let's go ahead and dive right in. And this is currently what my AC vent looks like. I have an air conditioner vent that outputs one on this side out into the living area of the van, and then I have a second air conditioner vent that blows cold air into the sleeping area. The idea is that we're just going to put an extendo vent on this side because this one's really the place where I need to like pull it out and then point it directly at myself while I'm in my little workstation area here. And this is the brand new 4-inch version of the extendo vent, which is actually perfect for these Cruise and Comfort air conditioners. I'm using the white ones since all my stuff is white. So let's go ahead and get cracking. First thing we need to do is take off this panel, and with the way that my van is built, I actually need to take off a good portion of the ceiling as well. I'm basically just going to replace this vent with our brand new extendo vent. And it turns out the hole that I had in here previously is like barely too small, so you can barely see the pencil mark here. There's what's called a fillet on this so that it self-centers when you put it in the hole. But in order for that to work, it does need to be a slightly larger hole than the outside diameter of this tube. So I'm basically just gonna take my jigsaw blade and put the jigsaw blade on the outside of this line here, and that should give it the perfect amount of space. Now all we gotta do is mount this flange here with the 4 included mounting screws. Okay, our flange is completely mounted. So these are the components that we're gonna focus on this step. This is the compressible ducting right here. It actually extends all the way out to 25 feet for the air conditioner version, which is pretty wild because it condenses all the way down into this little 18-inch segment. And then it includes this 20-inch section of duct housing. So basically the compressible stuff is going to sit inside of the housing so that it doesn't flop around everywhere as you're extending and compressing it. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see, but I have this extendable and compressible ducting routed back there, and then it takes a sharp bend and attaches basically directly to the blower on the air conditioner. You can see it poking out right there. So next up, we got to put this duct housing around the duct so that it has a place to live. And there's actually this duct housing mount that comes in the kit so that you can basically mount this housing to a wall to prevent the whole thing from moving around much. Okay, so we got the canister hung. I have it basically pushed back as far as I can onto the collapsible ducting there, so it covers pretty much all of it, so that's all protected. And then I ended up simplifying things and just using like a regular zip tie to mount the canister to a little beam that I had hanging up there, because the sticky mount thingy that it came with actually didn't have enough strength to hold it in place. But the good news is we're thankfully completely done with sticking our hands into this tiny little cabinet, and we can put our panel back in place. Alrighty, we got everything put back together. Thankfully, it went pretty well. Didn't do too much damage. And so now we have our vent, which fits into the whole contraption that we made. We actually just have to take the compressible ducting out. Okay, so in order to attach this compressible ducting to the vent, we kind of just slide it on this section here. It's a bit of a snug fit, but it will kind of slide over if you just give it a little bit of pressure, just like that. And that's honestly a pretty snug fit. That would probably be good enough, but they include these little bands here, so you can basically slide them over and then put them on the outside of this part, and should squeeze it down a little bit more, making it a little bit more of a secure connection. And actually, I just put one band on here, and that works pretty dang well. This is definitely not going to come off under any normal circumstances, so I'm going to stick with just using one of them. And now we can finally say that we have a completed extendo vent installation. This thing pulls way out so that I can get it all the way to any corner of my 170 wheelbase Sprinter van, and let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so it's definitely blowing some cold air already. This thing fires up pretty quickly. It's also not super hot outside today. It's only like 70 degrees, so I don't really need this, but I wanted to get it installed before the hot season starts. It does seem to be reducing the air output of the air conditioner a little bit, I think because this tube is quite a bit longer than the ones I had installed previously, but you can probably see my hair blowing. It's blowing pretty good still. Now let's go ahead and see if we can put it back into its little slot. Woohoo! Okay, and then when I do put it back into the original slot, it is blowing just as hard, actually quite a bit harder than it used to blow, because I used to have it forked on the two directions. This is how hard it's blowing when I put my face right up against it. Dang. I'm actually really impressed with how much more pressure that has just without having two split off vents. And the completed installation of the extendo vent looks pretty dang cool. I love this kind of grip section on the sides here. It pulls out and locks in super easily, but at the same time, it does not feel like it's gonna rattle around or shake itself out. And on that note, I think we can call this video complete. As I said, I'll put a link to this guy in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys next time.